who have been getting their hands more easily on guns, and that's resulted in violent crime, more crime. And your question is what can we do as a state, as a region, to deal with that, to address that? Is that fair? So let me begin by saying that it's very important for us to recognize that there are certain guns that should not be available to the general public broadly. And you've seen that I believe I showed my own view about that, and the General Assembly showed its view on it when we banned assault weapons in the state of Illinois. That's just a beginning. That doesn't take care of all the weapons that are out there, but let's face it, those weapons are attractive sometimes for people to get a hold of, whether they intend to commit a mass shooting or just to take it with them as what they think is self-protection, but in a violent circumstance, maybe to commit a crime. So we've got to make sure that those are off our streets, and we've voted to make sure that that happens in the state of Illinois. Second, look, there is a Second Amendment to the Constitution, but there are limits to what that means. It's, we can all read what we will about what that clause in the Constitution means, but one thing it doesn't mean is that everybody in every circumstance should be able to get a hold of every gun. And so from my perspective, making sure that we have universal background checks, again, something I ran on and won on, and we got that done in the General Assembly, universal background checks. Now, what's going to keep people, young people, who are legally allowed to own a gun from using it in a violent crime? We've got to make sure that we're addressing poverty, that we're getting people jobs, that we're lifting up communities that have been left out and left behind, because it's often those circumstances in which people end up committing a crime because they feel they have no other choices. So we've got to address this issue from multiple perspectives. I want to add one more thing, and I think this showed out in the results in the Chicago election too, that that there was one candidate who made out crime as if it's a single issue, that it has one facet to it, and that is putting more law enforcement on the street. Now, I happen to think that we do need more law enforcement on the street, but that doesn't mean that that's the only thing that you should do. That doesn't solve the problem by itself. You also have to make sure that, again, that we're providing resources for mental health and substance abuse treatment. And many of the young people who are getting a hold of guns are in need of mental health and substance use treatment. And if we can address those issues, we take a huge burden off the police, and I believe reduce violent crime significantly, because we're addressing some of the underlying causes.